For several millennia of Ukrainian history, millions of Ukrainians have contributed to the world with their achievements and discoveries. The daughter of Yaroslav the Wise, Anna, stood here in the main temple of the largest country in Europe at that time, Kievan Rus, holding the Reign's Gospel in her hands before leaving for France.
She not only became the beloved Queen of France and the great-grandmother of 30 kings of France, she also became the first woman to ever sign governmental documents on a par with the Queen and conduct business correspondence with the Pope. It is to her that the French are grateful for the basics of palace etiquette, the obligatory use of cutlery during meals, daily hygiene procedures, and theatrical performances at court.
She taught courtiers to read and write. She opened the first school and library at the court.
And almost 1,000 years later, Serge Lefar, the god of dance from Kiev, revives the ballet of France in that same Paris and makes his troupe the best in Europe. His 200 ballet performances at the Grand Opera delight the world and become classics. However, replying to the offer to become a French citizen, he said, "I'm sincerely grateful, Mr. President, but I have never been and never will be French, because I'm Ukrainian and proud of it."
But how can you feel the code of Ukrainians in yourself? You could ask May Musk after the gala evening in Doha.
Vyshyvanka is not just a beautiful dress or shirt. The patterns of this Ukrainian national dress encoded a magic code, a guardian talisman of our ancestors, the mysterious Tripolian tribe that lived on the territory of Ukraine more than 6,000 years ago.
We believe in you and in your fight for freedom. You inspire the world with your fearlessness.
You are brave and you will win.
If not for the achievements of a Ukrainian, Elon Musk would not have been able to launch his satellites or distribute Starlink internet with the whole world. After all, he became the continuation of the father of space exploration, Ukrainian Sergei Korolev, who in the last century was the one to launch the first satellite and first man, Yuri Gagarin, into space.
But Korolev was not the only one Ukrainian talented aircraft designer who sought to conquer the sky. Igor Sikorsky from Kiev gave the world a lot of unique aircraft. It was he who invented the world's first helicopter, and after emigrating to the United States, he founded a company that is now a leader in the world helicopter industry. Helicopters developed by the Sikorsky company still carry all U.S. presidents and are the pride of the American military.
The contribution of the Ukrainian Yuri Budak to the victory in the World War II occurred long before it began. During the Anglo-Boer War, Yuri Budak, the commander of one of the detachments of Boers, saved a young English journalist from execution, who in return helped Yuri to enter Oxford University. The young journalist was Winston Churchill.
But if it were not for the Kazakhs in the 18th century, the official language in Vienna now could have been Turkish. When the 200,000-strong army led siege to Vienna, the situation seemed hopeless, and the European capital was about to fall under the onslaught of Turks. However, a skillful attack of Kazakh troops changed the course of war, forcing the Ottomans to flee. In commemoration of that battle, 2 monuments were erected in Vienna. One to the Kazakh Yuri Kulchitsky, the author of Vienna's coffee recipe and the founder of the first coffee house in Vienna. And the other one to the Kazakhs who liberated the city, one of whom was the grandfather of Pyotr Tchaikovsky, that the famous composer was always proud of.
Pyotr Tchaikovsky was always proud that he was descended from a glorious Cossack family.
In Ukraine, where he visited annually for months, for 29 years, he found his inspiration. He stayed with his sisters and his beloved nephews. He initiated the creation of the Kiev Conservatory, which he wanted to lead.
In his native Ukraine, not only his first work was written, but also more than 40 world masterpieces, including the ballet Swan Lake, The Sleeping Beauty, operas Eugene Onegin, Cherevitsky, Mazeppa, The Maid of Orleans, the first and second concerts for piano and orchestra, as well as romances based on poetry by Taras Shevchenko.
Taras Shevchenko is a symbol of strong-willed Ukraine.
And romance Dark Eyes, which was performed by Mireille Mathieu, Louis Armstrong, Julio Iglesias and Patricia Kaas, was written by the father of Ukrainian fables, Evgeny Rybinka, who also came from Tchaikovsky family.
And today, the British rock band Muse, beloved by millions, winner of the MTV Europe Music Awards and Grammy, popularizes Tchaikovsky's masterpieces at the level of world rock.
Do you want to hear the opening chords of Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto in Muse performance? Turn up the volume. Just think how often you hear Ukrainian music without even realizing it. World-famous hit Summertime was inspired by Ukrainian folk lullaby, Oh Slumber Walks by the Windows. Ukrainian Shedrik by Leontovich sounds at every house at Christmas and is widely known as Carols of the Bells.
If not for the most famous pianist of the 20th century, the winner of the record number of Grammys in the world, Vladimir Horowitz from Kiev, the American Lend-Lease during the Second World War could have been jeopardized.
Vladimir Horowitz, at the request of the United States Department of War, gave a charity concert and collected an incredible amount of donations, which in today's money is more than $1 billion.
All the sweet tooth thanks to the Ukrainian scientist Petro.
Ukraine ranks second in the world by honey export.
Few people know that in Japan, not only honey that comes from Ukraine is popular. Famous sumo wrestler Taiho Koki, aka Ivan Borishko, or the Great Phoenix, also comes from Kharkiv region. At the age of 21, he became the youngest holder of the Yokozuna title in the history of sumo. And then he won the Emperor's Cup of Japan 32 times.
And while we're talking sports, new world records are being set right now by Ukrainian organization Navi. In recent years, no team has been found to beat them because Navi are born to win. And the Ukrainian game developer GSC Game World, which is known for the games Kazakhs and Stalker, just announced the new release of Stalker 2, The Heart of Chernobyl. The game has already been added to the list of the most anticipated Microsoft games.
And since we mentioned computer games and IT, it should be said that without such people like Steve Wozniak, Pavel Durov, Ian Combe, and Max Levchin, your daily life would definitely be different.
PayPal was founded by Kyiv resident Max Levchin. Over 160 million users in 200 countries. WhatsApp was founded by Ian Combe from Kyiv and American Brian Acton.
Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram, also has Ukrainian roots, as his mother was born in Kiev and he still has many other Ukrainian relatives.
Well,
who in the modern world does not know about Apple?
And we are proud that Steve Wozniak is Ukrainian.
What do you think? Did Louis Mayer like Vareniki or Plasky Lviv style? Louis Mayer, the creator of the golden era of Hollywood, the founder of MGM, the Film Academy, and the Oscars, was born in Dimir, Kyiv region, and today many other Hollywood stars are of Ukrainian origin. Sylvester Stallone, Dustin Hoffman, Jake Palance, Leonardo DiCaprio, David Duchovny, Mila Jovovich, Mila Kunis, Olga Kurylenko, Liv Tyler, Catherine Winnick, Anatoly and Ivanka Sakno,
and Vera Farmiga.
Steven Spielberg, the only person in history to have been nominated for an Oscar in the Best Director category for 6 decades in a row, first coming to Kyiv, said, "I'm home." After all, both his grandfathers from his mother's and father's sides were born in Ukraine.
Talking of movies, if not for the technical genius of Anatoly Kokush, most Hollywood films might not have been made.
The winner of 2 Academy Awards for camera equipment while working in Kyiv at the Dovzhenko studio came up with a robotic arm camera located on a truck crane.
This equipment was used in the set of Titanic, Fast and the Furious, War of the Worlds, Batman, The Da Vinci Code, Mission Impossible, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Terminator, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Transformers.
In the capital of Ukraine, Anatoly Kokush's company produces the best filming equipment in the world.
Currently, we are shooting in a unique electric guitar museum, Ukrainian Universum Hall. This is the only place in the world where exclusive Universum guitars are being made that are appreciated and played by such iconic rock musicians as Alice Cooper, Doug Eldridge, Brenton Woods, Steve Pfister, Andrei Makarevich, and the others.
And if it wasn't for Lenny Kravitz, the film Austin Powers would have remained without a soundtrack.
Lenny Kravitz holds the Grammy record for the best male rock vocal performance. One of the most charismatic and talented musicians of our time always proudly says, "I come from Ukraine."
David Garrett, a virtuoso violinist with Ukrainian roots, who played the role of Nicola Paganini, just like the modern Ukrainian Paganini, Vasily Popadiuk, break the mold of what's humanly possible and display musical mastery. They make you think about the nature of human talent, the way Bob Dylan did, and yet another phenomenal musician of our time, who also has Ukrainian roots.
No clue has been found to unravel the mystery of the story told by the Scythian jeweler on the golden pectoral. It belonged to our ancestor, the king of Scythians, who ruled in the 4th century BC. This masterpiece of jewelry art amazes and inspires designers all around the world to create pectoral necklaces, who remain on the top lists of fashion trends.
Fashion houses Yves Saint Laurent and Missoni have publicly stated more than once that they draw inspiration from the work of Sonia Delaunay. This is the first and only Ukrainian artist whose exhibition was held in the Louvre and received the highest award of France, the Order of the Legion of Honor. These are the colors of my childhood, the colors of Ukraine.
If not for Nikolai Gogol, Annushka would not have spilled oil on the patriarch's bones. The life of the famous Ukrainian writer Nikolai Gogol is shrouded in mysteries, one of which is his missing head, which another Ukrainian writer, Mikhail Bulgakov, as a great connoisseur of Gogol's work, used in the novel The Master and Margarita. Anyone who reads Evening on a Farm near Diganka or The Night Before Christmas, written by Gogol, will certainly want to visit Ukraine and see all with their own eyes.
Karavai has been a symbol of the sun and hospitality in Ukraine for more than 1,000 years. Since ancient times, Karavai on a towel was presented to a guest who was then seated at the table and treated to meal.
Borscht is the main dish in the Ukrainian cuisine.
And of course, vareniki. Dumplings filled with meat, cottage cheese, cherries, potatoes, mushrooms, cabbages, or any other of different 100 fillings and toppings.
You should also try sala, Ukrainian bacon, cottage cheese, homemade sausage, potato dumplings, and lvivsky plaski. After all, these and many other Ukrainian dishes are making a huge part in world's cuisine.
Today, Ukrainians have a dream to revive the Mira,
The largest and heaviest cargo aircraft in the world.
It was created in Kiev at the Antonov factory.
Mira holds 240 world records.
Providing assistance and transporting goods, it visited 89 countries of the world.
But it was barbarously destroyed by Russia in the first days of the war.
War always brings destruction, but there are always those who come to the rescue.
In 45 countries around the world, on 1,167 squares, there are monuments to Ukrainian, who has come to symbolize that you should never give up on your dream. This is an absolute world record in the number of monuments erected to a person who has ever lived. Taras Shevchenko is a symbol of strong-willed Ukraine. Poet.
Somewhere rise and we fall through a fluff up against the wall. will crash and on the cloud. You will scream my name out loud, and our love's not what it seems. Baby, I'll give you all my dreams, and we sing just who we are. Light up the night like a shooting star.
Whenever we're talking, you stay silent. Silence sometimes leads to violence. No matter how wild and violent I get, you stay quiet, autopilot. Maybe you think that you're too good to give me loving like I think you should. Maybe I'm blind, maybe I'm deluded. Maybe I'm toxic and polluted. Maybe this angel's wings are broken, but you're still here, and it gives me hope. And maybe I'm drinking, maybe I'm smoking, cruising strips and the whips outflow, scoping anything, skirting, flirting, eyes wide open, soul is hurting. Maybe it's time for a new direction. Maybe I'm sick with your infection.
If I left you, what would you have done? As it is now, we're barely friends. Still I was wrong for the night to sleep in your arms until the light.